Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the 3D and how the 3D is actually an effect. It is not a cause. So growing up, I really thought that there was just 1D, 2D, 3D. Those were all of the dimensions. And even as a side note, I feel like I was born in 1995. I'm 30 years old. I feel like a lot of the things that I learned and a lot of the things that were instilled in me are now being challenged, specifically when it comes to like mindset, when it comes to thinking, when it comes to reality. And it's very exciting, and it's also interesting to learn this at this age. But I've come to the realization from a lot of the books that I read on quantum physics, on just personal development. You hear everything starts with mind, but you don't really know how to, and I'm speaking for myself, you hear everything starts with your mind, but you don't really know how to conceptualize that or how to understand that when you've been looking at the 3D world and thinking of everything as being the cause. Like 3D is the cause, the effect is the start, it's the end. That's just what it is. So now when you open up your mind to, okay, there's a mental aspect, there's a spiritual aspect, there's also a physical aspect, and these things work together to bring in the reality that you see right now. It kind of gives you a different perspective, and you kind of have to shift your paradigms a little bit. And that's what I want to talk about. And what I mean by the 3D is, an effect and not a cause, is that when something happens to you in this life, in this reality, in the physical plane, we like to see it as, oh my gosh, this happened. And now, like, we see it as a cause, if that makes sense. It's like, I get into a car accident and now my insurance rates are going to go up, and now this and now that and that. It just is seen as a domino effect starting with the 3D, when really the cause is actually more so on the mental level or the spiritual level, right? We know that with quantum physics that thoughts are waves, and waves can be turned into particles, and that's why what you think about is what you become, right? James Allen, as a man thinketh. So I kind of talk about this a little bit in my pink car theory. There was a point in my life where this was not that long ago, I'm talking about it like it was like years ago, but literally last year there was a point in my life where I was so frustrated, and I kept looking for signs in the 3D, and I'm just like, man, God, just show me a sign. And I was a driver, and I told myself, anytime I anytime I see a pink car, that is going to be a sign to me that I'm on the right track, or that I'm, that is going to be proof to me that what I think about in my head, in my mind, is going to show up in my reality. So I made that a mission. I said pink car because you don't see pink cars often. You might see one or two, but you don't really notice them often. And so I picked like the most obscure colored car that I could find. And I was just like, okay, I have this in my mind. And before you know it, I'm seeing pink cars everywhere. And there was one day where I saw 13 pink cars in one day, like just in the morning alone. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, this is insane. I told myself I want to see a pink car. I'm thinking about a pink car. Now to see 13 in one day after not really noticing any ever at all was just insane. And that's one way to show that the cause, right? I told myself I want to think about pink cars. The effect then showed up in 3D, and you can apply this to like anything in your life, right? So when bad things happen, and I say bad things, but I want you to start reframing your mind. Like, nothing that happens to you is bad. It just is. And when bad things happen, we like to look at the physical world around us, and we're like, okay, this happened, and now this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and why does nothing go my way, and everything is wrong, and nothing is right. And we get really frustrated, not knowing that sometimes our energetic disposition, or the thoughts that we're thinking internally, are then being projected outside. And more people are starting to understand this. I feel like more and more younger people are starting to get this too, and understand this knowledge and apply it in their life. And it's really useful. And Bob Proctor talks about this a lot. Neuro Knowledge talks about this a lot. Brian Withers, he talks about this a lot as well. So if you guys haven't checked out their channels or their books or their content, I definitely recommend it, because it's getting to the point now where I understand that the physical reality that I'm in right now, I won't say I'm not satisfied with it, because I'm trying to change my paradigm, but I do want things to change. And now I'm starting to understand that instead of fighting against, the natural order of things or the way that things work, instead of trying to change the physical constantly and trying to shift everything around me and looking outward and saying, no, this isn't right, this needs to change in order for this to happen so that I can be content and this and that, I'm now starting to look internally, and it is so difficult. It is like holding up a mirror to yourself and saying these things are happening because of me is a hard pill to swallow when you've gone your whole life kind of being conditioned to and ready to blame circumstance, the government, other people. You know, it's so easy to just blame everything else as opposed to just taking accountability and saying, okay, my thoughts haven't been the best, and you know, I have a pretty negative mindset, negative energy, and this negative energy is leaking out, and this energy that starts out as a wave can then turn into a particle and then manifest in this real life. And I don't know, the people watching this, it might sound woo-woo or it might sound like weird, and I think maybe even 10 years ago if somebody told me about this stuff, it wouldn't even register. I would just think, okay, you're like one of those types of people. But it's becoming more and more relevant to my life. So that's all I wanted to talk about, you guys. Just start thinking about the 3D as an effect and not a cause, and start looking inward, and I promise things will get better. You'll start noticing more things. And you know, I'm really interested to hear too what you think. Like, is there something that's happening in your life that you can look at and be like, okay, that's a little bit different, or maybe I was looking at it from the wrong perspective? If so, let me know. Bye.